Okay, looks like we are live. Okay, good afternoon, all of you. Welcome to today's session. Hope you are all doing well, and are safe. Let me introduce myself. My name is Priya Nair. I'm an RYT 500 yoga teacher, specializing in prenatal yoga, kids yoga, yoga nidra, and in yin yoga. And today's topic that we are going to talk about is all the problems that are common to women across their life stages, and how yoga can help specifically with these problems. Okay, all of us know the benefits of yoga, but we'll be talking specifically about women centric issues and how yoga can help. So let's start with just talking about women a little bit. Okay, women, as you know, we wear many hats. We are the glue that binds our family together. We play multiple roles. We are a doting parent, we are a loving wife, we are a caring daughter. We have to do our domestic duties, as well as some of us go out, work. We are at par with men. But what that means is that we are stretched, we are stressed. We take care of everything and everyone around us, but we don't take care of our own selves. Okay, we neglect our own health, and slowly that creeps up on us. So, yoga can be a woman's best friend, right from childhood till our golden years. I call it golden years, not old age. From childhood to our golden years, yoga can be our companion and work through all our life stages, uh, helping us to go through these stages with ease. So we should not treat yoga as just an exercise for flexibility. We should not treat it as a chore on our already overburdened schedule. We should treat it as a lifestyle. We should treat it as a necessity that will help us to fulfill our obligations optimally. Okay, so let's first start with the general benefits of yoga. We all know that yoga is a complete exercise, excellent for flexibility, excellent for strength, excellent for endurance. Okay, so it will help us with all these three. It can be a supplement to your exercise routine. You may be doing weight training, you may be running. It can be a supplement. It can also be the only thing that you're doing. Okay, but make sure that you're getting all these three aspects: strength, endurance, as well as flexibility. Next is it helps with hormonal balance. So it balances the endocrine system. A lot of postures in yoga help to regulate our hormonal system, which is the cause of a lot of issues that we face. Then it keeps our reproductive system healthy. It supplies a lot of blood to our reproductive and keeps it healthy, helps us through our menstruating years, through our pregnancy, helps us in old age when we have a lot of reproductive disorders, keeps our joints healthy, keeps our bones healthy, improves circulation, helps us with our memory, helps with our focus and concentration. Yoga is also excellent for stress, for calming down. Okay, helps us through insomnia, through mood swings. So yoga is generally good for all these things. Okay. Now we will, and also it does not require any equipment. All you need is an inexpensive yoga mat, or sometimes not even that. You can just use a blanket. You don't need any specific room. You can do it anywhere where you have one mat space. You can do it at home. You can go to a studio. You can do it in your office. Nowadays, we are doing it online. So yoga can be done anywhere by any age. If you have any mobility issues, you can do chair yoga. You can even lie down on your bed. If you can't do anything else, lie down on your bed. A lot of yoga postures can be done lying down as well. Okay. So now we will move to the next section where I talk about the four life stages in a woman's life. Okay. And in each life stage, what changes we are going through and how yoga is beneficial in that particular life stage. So the first life stage is kids and teenagers. Okay, so as girls, there's a lot happening in our lives. There is rapid bone development, physical and psychological changes are happening, brain development is happening. We grow a little older, we start menstruating. So a lot of hormonal changes that comes along with a lot of symptoms. Uh, it's a highly competitive environment, so there's a lot of peer pressure, uh, a lot of strain. Kids are not able to concentrate because of so many distractions. Focus is not there. A lot of devices all the time. Mind is always restless. Too much exposure to too much information nowadays. So kids are confused, they are fearful sometimes, a lot of anxiety issues are there. Also, body image issues are very common in teenagers, lot of eating disorders in teens nowadays. So yoga will help through this entire period from when you're little girls through teenage years. Okay, we can start yoga as early as 4 to 5 years of age, girls or boys, but we are talking specifically about girls. 4 to 5 years of age, there are teachers trained specifically in kids yoga. Okay, initially it's not a asana practice, it's more to keep them engaged, keep them restless, they're hyperactive sometimes, calm them down, do some breathing techniques, make it fun, do animal poses. So initially yoga is introduced to them so that they feel that it is a fun activity. Then as you grow older, asanas are introduced, Surya Namaskars are introduced. It will help with weight gain issues. Nowadays, girls have very sedentary lifestyles. They don't go out to play like olden days. Our foods are unhealthy. So it will help with weight issues, balancing the hormones, help with regular and painless period. So it will help with concentration. Pranayams and meditation techniques will help them calm their mind. Exam anxiety, stress, affected by the friends and people around us. So yoga will help to calm them down. So right from kids to teenagers, yoga can be introduced so that it is started early and they will adopt this through their entire life. Now the next life stage is in a woman's life is a young adult. Now you might be working, you will start working, or some of us get married. And during this phase, we slowly start getting more and more responsibility. And because of this, we start to neglect our health. This is the most common. This age is most common to have thyroid dysfunction, PCOS, PCOD. 1 in 10 women have PCOS, PCOD. A lot of stress we start taking. Okay, we may move out of our homes. So there's a lot of things going on. Weight gain is very common in this stage of our lives. Insomnia is also very common. So if you include yoga in your regular practice, it will one help with weight gain, help to calm your mind down. A lot of postures specifically for thyroid dysfunction, for PCOS, PCOD, things can be cured completely. Don't go off your medications, but postures will slowly over time help you to overcome cyst problem, fibroid problems. It will help you overcome. So this is the second stage in our life. Now the third stage in a woman's life is the preconception, pregnancy, postnatal. Okay, most of us will go through this stage, and in this stage, there is a lot of emotional, physical changes happening. Okay, some of us are trying to conceive; it may or may not happen fast. When we get pregnant, there's a lot of excitement, but there's also a lot of stress. You read a lot of things online. You're worried. You want to have a normal delivery. There are a lot of advice you're getting from people. So emotionally, also a lot of turbulence is happening. Physically, of course, a lot of changes, hormonal imbalances. There's a lot of pressure on our uterus. We start to feel breathless. We start to feel heavy. So yoga will help through the pregnancy, right from trimester number one, under the guidance of an experienced teacher, right up to the last day, you can do yoga. Okay, we'll talk about it in detail. Postnatal yoga also, almost immediately, if you're having a normal delivery, few weeks after pregnancy, you can start postnatal, help you to recover faster, help you to strengthen your pelvic floor muscles, which are overstretched when you're pregnant. So through the pregnancy, till after the baby is born, and for some time after the baby is born, we will be doing prenatal, postnatal, and continue to build our strength. So this was the third stage. And the next stage, I call it golden years, is when a lot of again changes are happening. We have some unique set of challenges. Our activity may be reduced a little bit. We hit menopause, okay, and a lot of symptoms again associated with menopause. Our bone density starts to go down over time. We lose muscle mass. Um, we start having circulation problems. Some of us have joint problems. Knee and hip replacements are common. Breast cancer, ovarian cancers, reproductive organ issues are very common in our golden years. So doing yoga again at this stage, more focusing on stretching, on relaxation, on keeping our organs healthy and strong, keeping our muscle mass intact, keeping our mind sharp, introduce yoga based on your condition. A lot of modifications can be done, but definitely including yoga in your daily routine through these four stages. Okay. So, like I said, right from childhood to golden years, throughout our life, yoga is our companion. Now we'll move to the next topic where we are addressing certain common problems that we face and what can be done specifically. I'll be talking about postures, I'll be talking about breathing techniques, I'll be talking about some meditation techniques, maybe some home remedies as well. Okay, but there's a disclaimer. If you are suffering from any condition, if you are new to yoga, please talk to your doctor first before you start on any exercise routine. Always include walking along with yoga if yoga is the only activity you're doing. And talk to your yoga teacher, whoever your yoga teacher is, talk to them specifically about what condition you have so that they can modify the program accordingly. Now I'll be talking, I can't show you the postures today, obviously. So I'll be talking about the names of the postures. You can either note it down or you refer to the video at a later time so that you know what posture works for what condition. Okay, so let's begin. So the first condition I'll talk about is PMS or menstrual cramping. Most common condition. Right from your teen to your menopause. So almost around 40 years of your life. Okay, some of us are lucky enough if we don't have any symptoms, but many of us have cramping, we have pain, lower back stiffness. There's also irritability. There are mood swings because of hormonal fluctuations, obviously. Right? It's a joke now. Are you PMSing, right? So, yoga will definitely help to ease these symptoms, if not completely get rid of PMS. So, what are the postures that can be done? Postures can be done to release the tension in your back. Postures can be done to relieve cramping. If you're feeling a lot of pain and cramping, there are certain postures that can be done. Postures can be done to um, get blood into the reproductive systems, to balance your hormones so that your irritability and mood swings are less. So, first, I'll talk about the postures. Butterfly pose or Baddha Konasana, okay, is one of the postures you can do when you're PMSing, which opens up and releases the pelvis. There's a lot of stress on the pelvis, so do butterfly or Baddha Konasana for pelvis. To release tension in the lower back or lower back pain, many of us face. Marjari Asana, just cat and cow. Bridge pose or Setu Bandhasana. Ardha Matsyendrasana or a twist, spinal twisting, will relieve lower back pain. Child's pose, Balasana. Also excellent. When you're cramping, just go to child's pose. It will help you reduce your cramps. Next is Viparit Karni. Viparit Karni is legs up the wall. So a lot of stagnant blood flows back from the legs because we have discomfort in the lower extremity. So when you put your legs up the wall for a few minutes, it helps the stagnant blood flow down. So Viparit Karni is an excellent pose. Makarasana, some other poses, Makarasana, Shavasana, relaxation, pigeon pose. Again, are very good poses when you are having menstrual cramps or PMS symptoms. Now, what you will avoid is inversions. During your period, avoid inversions. Uh, you will also avoid deep forward bending, deep twisting postures. Okay, stay with gentle postures during this time. Definitely, you can do yoga, but avoid inversions, deep forward bends, deep twisting. Okay, so these are about the postures. Now, breathing techniques. When you're having your period, avoid stimulating breathing like Bhastrika or Kapalbhati. You will avoid completely when you're having your period. You can do gentle and relaxation breathing techniques, Nadi Shodhana or Anulom Vilom, Brahmari Pranayama, which is humming deep breath. They are all breathing techniques to calm you down. So a lot of symptoms are aggravated when you have pain, when you're stressed. These breathing techniques will help to stimulate the relaxation response of your body, release the tensed muscles. Then you can introduce meditation techniques. Okay, simple. Just do Om chanting. Close your eyes, spine is straight. Om chanting. Okay, few 16 chants, 21 chants, 1 minute, 2 minutes. Just stay with the chanting vibrations. You can do breath awareness, sitting still, focusing on the breath. You can do yoga nidra, very good for mental and physical relaxation. You can do mantra chanting. If there are any favorite mantras that you have, again sitting still in a quiet room, okay, you can do mantra. All these will again calm your mind down. Excellent to help relieve PMS and menstrual cramps. Some home remedies. You can soak methi seeds. These are all grandmother's nuskas, okay? You can soak methi seeds in the night. In the morning, drink that water. You can either strain or have it with the methi dana. Very good again to relieve menstrual cramping. Now the next condition, very common again. Most women have this thyroid dysfunction. Now thyroid dysfunction is a medical condition where your thyroid gland is either overproducing or underproducing the thyroid hormone. So it's a hormonal imbalance, and stress aggravates this condition. Common symptoms: weight gain or weight loss based on what you have, constipation, diarrhea, fatigue, lethargy. You feel very fatigued and lethargic all the time. Okay. So you are on constant medication. So don't stop the medication, but add some of these yoga postures to your routine, which will help with thyroid. So most effective yoga postures for thyroid to stimulate the thyroid gland, get oxygenated blood into your thyroid gland, halasana, okay, plow pose. Another posture is ushtrasana, camel pose. Another posture is dhanurasana. Again, you're stimulating your thyroid gland, stretching the front of the body. Fish pose or matsyasana, very good for thyroid again. Sarvangasana, getting blood to flow into the thyroid gland. Breathing techniques, the best breathing technique, all breathing is good for thyroid, but the best one is Ujjayi breathing, where you're contracting your throat and you're breathing in and out, massaging the thyroid gland, stimulates the thyroid gland. Okay, meditation, what I spoke about, yoga nidra, um, om chanting, breath awareness, and Korean. One and have this issue where there are multiple you can do postures, forward bending postures, mostly standing forward bends, like Prasarita Padottanasana, Uttanasana, Padahastasana can be done, Balasana, Dhanurasana, Baddha Konasana, twisting postures to stimulate reproductive organs. Okay, so Ardha Matsyendrasana, Jatara Parivartanasana, twisting pose, very good for PCOD, PCOS. Pranayama, Nadi Shodhana, and Brahmari, because again, stress is a contributor to this condition. Nadi Shodhana, Brahmari, very good for PCOS, PCOD. Next is endometriosis. We have a few more conditions and I'll take questions. Okay, endometriosis is a very painful condition. Unfortunately, some of us go through this. So the postures that can be done based on your symptoms. If you're having bloating, discomfort, you're going to do relaxing restorative postures like Supta Baddha Konasana, Supta Virasana, very relaxing postures. Okay, if you are having a tight pelvis, Baddha Konasana, Upavishta Konasana, opening wide legs, opening up the pelvis, releasing the pressure in your pelvis. When you're not menstruating, Sarvangasana is very good for endometriosis. It balances your hormones. Simple back bends, Bhujangasana, Sphinx pose, simple back bends, very good for endometriosis. Twisting again, generally for all, gentle twists are always good for all reproductive conditions. Pranayama, Nadi Shodhana, best for all conditions. Okay, balances your hormones, balances and calms down your mind. And belly breathing, where you're breathing in, down, abdomen goes in and out. Belly breathing, excellent for endometriosis, excellent to relax. And meditation practices, as what we've talked about. Next is pregnancy. Okay, you can start prenatal yoga right from the first trimester. Talk to your doctor, tell all your conditions to your yoga teacher. You can start right from day one, right till the last day. It is customized for whatever conditions you may have, and you can maintain physical and mental health throughout the pregnancy. Okay, based on the condition again. So, lot of fluctuations in body and mind, yoga will help. Postnatal yoga can almost start immediately. After 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks if you're having a normal delivery, around 90 days if you had a C-section. And again, talk to your doctor, talk to your yoga teacher, slowly build up your strength, build up your muscle, and throughout the pregnancy, work on keeping your body supple. Okay, I'll address questions if there are any related to pre and postnatal. Sorry, there was a problem, I think. So I joined back by Sayali. What are the benefits of yoga? So I covered that. What are the benefits? Right from physical, mental, everything. Okay, Swati, what is the right amount of time to wait after eating before practicing yoga asana? And how long should I wait after practicing yoga before I can eat? So, Swati, you can wait up to 2 hours if you're not very full. 4 hours is what is recommended, but 2 hours after eating. is Rebecca. How often should I practice to have the best results? So Rebecca, at least 2 to 3 days a week. Okay, supplement it with any other exercise. If you're doing any other exercise 2 to 3 days a week, if you're not doing any other exercise, you can do every day, but walk along with yoga. Do have a walking routine along with yoga. Apurva's question. What can and can't pregnant women do in yoga? Now, so when you're pregnant, first of all, there are many conditions that you go through. When you're pregnant, you will avoid prone postures, postures that will make you the stomach, completely avoid. You will avoid deep forward bending. Okay, deep forward bending. Keep your legs apart, and mild forward bending you will do. Keep your knees soft and bend forward. Deep forward bending postures you will avoid. Deep twisting you will avoid. Open-ended twist. You can look up. You can't do deep twist. Open-ended twisting you can do. Pushpa's question is yoga enough or should I complement with cardio and weightlifting? So if you ask me, yoga can be enough if you are including vinyasa yoga. Power improves your strength. Vinyasa gets your heart rate going up. It's cardio. And hatha yoga for flexibility. Hatha yoga can be made as tough or easy as possible. So yes, it can be a full workout, but we have to maintain a muscle mass. Women lose muscle mass very early. So we have to maintain a muscle mass. So if you are not having access to power yoga, you have to do weight training or any other cardio exercise. Next question by Lakshmi Mishra. Do I need to tell my yoga teacher I am pregnant? Yes, definitely you need to tell your yoga teacher you are pregnant because there are some postures that are contraindicated. Okay, contraindicated means some postures pregnant women are not supposed to do. So you have to tell your yoga teacher you're pregnant because unknowingly she will give you postures that you're not supposed to do. So very, very important. You must tell your yoga teacher you're pregnant. Next question by Navlaks Kapoor. What yoga poses should you avoid during pregnancy? Again, postures on your abdomen, prone postures, deep forward bending, deep twisting. And one more thing I forgot to mention, inversions are done in your pregnancy, but only supported using a wall and only during certain period in your second trimester so that the baby can turn. Okay. Other times you will avoid inversions like shoulder stand, you will avoid bridge pose, you will do only supported. Sarvangasana, you will do supported. Okay. Next question by Divya Patil. What housework should I avoid during pregnancy? Nothing you need to avoid. You can do anything that you want. In fact, in olden days, they used to make pregnant women do housework, doing katka, sitting in squat and doing pocha, use to make chutney, heavy weights for the arm. So no housework you need to avoid. Of course, take into consideration how you are feeling. Very low energy you will feel, but do activity. Be very active when you're pregnant. It will help you with an easy and normal delivery. Prachi is asking, can I do yoga exercises lying on my stomach? If you're pregnant, you cannot do yoga exercises lying on your stomach. If you're not pregnant, yes, you can do yoga exercises lying on your stomach. But again, if you have any condition, any a big fibroid or cyst which is causing pain, you must accordingly modify the posture. So tell your yoga teacher what your condition is, modify the postures based on your condition. Revati Rajamani's question is, which yoga is best after delivery? Okay, so postnatal yoga. Postnatal yoga, there is nothing different from hatha yoga. It is hatha yoga, but it takes into consideration certain things, how you are recovering. So postures are modified. So hatha yoga is best for after delivery. And once you have built up your strength and stamina, you can move to vinyasa yoga or power yoga. So start with postnatal hatha yoga, mild, gentle postures. Build up your strength and stamina for power and vinyasa yoga. Sonam Patel is asking, can one do Chaturanga Dandasana when you're pregnant? Okay, no, you cannot do Chaturanga Dandasana. Why? You can do half Chaturanga, where you're dropping your knees down and you're moving your chest forward, which is working more on your shoulders. Okay, but full Chaturanga you will avoid because there's a lot of core engagement and you are not doing any postures which involves a lot of core engagement. You don't do Navasana when you're pregnant. You don't do Chaturanga when you're pregnant. Okay, you don't want to put too much pressure on the abdominal walls. So avoid full Chaturanga, Half chaturanga for strengthening your arms and shoulders can be done. Bhavana, Ananta. Can you do yoga in the first trimester? Yes, you can do yoga in the first trimester. In fact, if you're having any discomfort in the first trimester, nausea, there are certain postures, certain breathing techniques that will help. But again, talk to your doctor. If your doctor has okayed it, uh, you can do. If there are no complications, if you've had a natural conception, yoga can start from day one. Okay, with a lot of, tell your teacher you're pregnant. She will modify the postures. Keep it low intensity in the first trimester. Second trimester is a time to pick up intensity. Best phase of your pregnancy. You can do all many postures with modifications. One more question from Navlaks Kapoor. Can I do Kapal Bhati in pregnancy? So, Navlaks, no stimulating breathing can be done during pregnancy. Okay, so no Kapal Bhati, no Bhastrika pranayam, no pranayam that is heating up your body. During pregnancy, you do only breathing techniques that cool down your body, balancing breathing, Nadi Shodhana. Okay, tranquilizing breathing, Brahmari pranayam, Shitali, Shitkari. These are the 4 pranayams you can do. Ujjayi you can do when you're pregnant. You will avoid Kapalbhati. You will avoid Bhastrika, any variation of Kapalbhati, any active inhalation and exhalation which heats up your body, you will avoid. Okay. I don't see any other questions. So you can come back to see the video. I am on Facebook. I have a page called 455 Studio 455, or on Instagram I am @Studio 455. Okay, @Studio_455. So do visit my page. If you have any questions, feel free to comment and I will reply to your questions. Okay, thank you very much.